Welcome, phenomenal agents and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, October 3rd, 2019, and this is Mastermind Call number 247. All of us partners are in beautiful Lake Lure, North Carolina today for our partners meeting. So we're all in the same location. If you hear a little bit of background noise, we're calling you on our cell phones, but looks like we're coming through loud and clear. So, oh, good. We have 3 people in the queue. We get plenty of room for more. Chad, anything you want to say before we get started?
Just a reminder from yesterday, because we're in planning, we moved the monthly role play call to October 16th. So the normal day and time, a Wednesday at 2 p.m., but it's not the first Wednesday. Next month I'm at a convention and a Habitat for Humanity build, so we're actually moving that 2 weeks. So on, Wednesday, October 16th at 2 p.m. Eastern, we'll do the October role play call. And Mastery has also been scheduled. I think we talked about this last week, but Probate Mastery is now scheduled for October 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. And I don't think the announcement emails have gone out. Actually, the announcement email will go out this afternoon. Right after this call, you should get that. So if you're interested in Mastery and becoming certified, look for that email around 2 o'clock Eastern today.
All right, and just a little bit of a teaser. We're about halfway through our quarterly planning. We've got some great upgrades. One of them will be rolling out next week and several more over the next few months. So some of your guys' ideas, just some things that we're going to add, upgrade, improve, and just make this program as beneficial as we can for all of you. So we do have 4 in the queue now. Again, hit *6 and hit 1. If you're going to get in the queue, try to do it early. And let's go to our first caller. First up this week is phone number ending in 7976. You're up first.
Can you guys hear me?
Can hear you great.
Loud and clear.
Okay, good. I've got it. It's Renee. Since there's not too many people in the queue, I'll ask as many questions as I can in rapid fire. I have been making the calls, and I also, yesterday was one of my first real scheduled visits to the attorney's offices, and that worked out really well. So maybe not a win of the week, but just that I'm being proactive and encouraging others to do the same, because it's not scary and it's fun. So should we call the attorney if we just can't visit them and there's no phone number for the personal representative? I feel like those people are just like hanging in limbo and the mail is the only option.
Yeah, and it's rare that we come up with no phone numbers for a personal rep, but when that happens, it doesn't hurt to make contact with the attorney. A lot of times, we also now have email addresses for the personal reps, but we're finding that, compared to last year, we're getting a ton more attorney email addresses, as part of the public record. So you have a couple options. You can mail the attorney, you can email the attorney, you can call the attorney to try to make contact. The one thing to be aware of, Renee, in California, and it's not everyone, but some attorneys will actually bill the family. Like if you mail a specific, based on a specific case, when they get your letter or your email, they'll invoice a billable hour to the estate. And I don't agree with that, but it does happen. Okay. So you might consider a more generic message like, hey, I've talked to a family that you're working with. I'd like to talk with you when you have 5 minutes. Using the docket number can get you through the gatekeeper when you're in the mailbox or in email, but it can also result in an invoice, and it can cost the family $150, $200. So just be aware of that some attorneys will invoice, and you may just try to approach them with a more generic, hey, I'm working with a family that you're also working with. I just wanted to introduce myself and get your foot in the door that way.
And just as a side note, I'm not opposed to having those attorneys on my list to hop by or door knock, whatever you want to call it. Just the area that I have is the only area that's currently open in LA, and it's a little further out on the east side from me. So it may not be the highest and best use of my time, and this is only my first full month. So I'm noticing that many of the attorneys just have one-offs. Like I haven't gathered enough where they have 3 or 4 probates going at a time in an area. So just kind of in the background.
I think you and I talked about this before, just to maybe to challenge your thinking. I think I told you about this when you and I first spoke a few months ago, but we had a gentleman in San Diego that at one dinner party met one attorney, and he closed over 100 transactions with that attorney.
Yeah.
So it may be worth you getting in your car and just saying, okay, one day a month, I am going to do this, and it's worth one day a month, right? So we find it so effective, the face-to-face approach, that I'm challenging you to consider maybe it is one of the most dollar productive things you can do because of the long-term effect in your business.
Thank you. Yeah, agreed. And for everybody else on the line, I'm not overthinking it. I think it's just a matter of kind of strategizing my time, like you said. Not the most efficient use of my time, like it's a waste because they have one probate on the list, but more just from the driving standpoint. So thank you for bringing that up again, just to kind of clear it up if anybody got confused. Yeah, you're right. Take one day, which sounds like a lot of driving, but for me, it isn't really. I mean, it's in one big area, and it would occur like a lot of driving, but it seems like, most of the commercial real estate is clumped in certain places. So even if it's a one-off lawyer on a strip mall versus a big, 11-story building, they're still kind of in the same vicinity. That's what I noticed from yesterday. So it did make it actually a lot easier than you think. Versus even like,
and to make it more sustainable, just for the benefit of everybody. I mean, what we teach in Mastery is find a way to get this done systematically, meaning habitually. Like use discipline in the beginning, but build it into a habit. And once you start getting the rewards, the listings or the deals, you'll have positive reinforcement, and you'll get out there and do it. But like I told Renee, even if it's just one day per month, get that in the calendar and lump other things in there. So like, for example, what I would do if I were in that situation, I would use net time, like no extra time. Means when you're in the car driving, that doesn't have to be wasted time. What if you downloaded all the role play calls from our archive, and for 8 hours you drove around listening to role play calls, meeting with probate attorneys? And so it's partially a training day, but you're also building your referral network. So think about it like that. If you can, lump the work, and in your example, like if it's a 2-hour drive to even get started, then you obviously want to try to hit as many as possible. So what if you just dedicate the entire day to doing that, and you start in the morning? You start at the probate court, so you can meet as many of them as possible in the courtroom, and then go to offices after the court's over. Like once family court has concluded, then you spend the afternoon hitting the offices.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. Thank you for that. That last little bit really hit home. Okay, perfect. Do I have time enough to ask a few more questions?
Sure.
Jim?
Okay.
We have 6 more, but we've got the whole hour.
Okay, I'll make it quick. And they're kind of in conjunction with, on top of each other, the questions. So is an email drip to the lawyers something you guys may have seen work, or is that just annoying? I'm thinking like when Chad, by the way, when you did the MailChimp, like upload to MailChimp and kind of put that on a drip and not have docket numbers and not have all that, and not try to be so specific moving forward after the first 1 or 2 contacts. Like, just thoughts on logistics for that.
So any poorly executed email campaign is a pain in the ass to the recipient. But you're never going to have an objection to real value. So if you can find a way to write a drip that actually provides value to the attorneys, then no, you're not going to be a problem in their inbox. You might be a welcome. They might welcome that. So like ideas are, Renee, what if you were to, in video number 1 or email number 1, it has a picture of just a clickable image that looks like a video, and it's you standing in front of the LA courthouse, and it's a place that they're all too familiar with because they go there all the time. They're there probably multiple times per week, so it's going to grab their attention. And you're talking directly to them, and what you would say if you ran into them right there on the steps. And then email 2 might say, how our team approach helps our legal partners. And you could have a video and copy as well, but the video could say, listen, we consider the attorneys part of our team, and our service picks up where the legal aspect leaves off. So where your office, like where your scope of work runs out, ours picks up, and we consider ourselves, all pulling in the same direction. And you could just introduce them to your service incrementally over a series of emails, so they're going to be more and more curious about who you are and how you even know how to talk about this stuff. And eventually that will prompt them to reach out to you. So I think it comes down to the value of your content and your copywriting, whether or not you're an annoyance or a value to them.
That's perfect. I'm going to do that. Okay, that's perfect. And with that, I actually have all the leads website, and I noticed purposely you guys don't put like an attorney tab on there. And here was the great thing from yesterday's top buys at the attorneys. Most of them were the gatekeepers, and that's fine. But the 30-second pitch was intriguing to them. Nobody looked at me sideways like, get the hell out of here. But what I noticed is it's so new, like this approach has never been done, that it's kind of confusing, to them. Like, wait, what are you offering? That would you put an attorney tab on all the leads website? Number one.
Hey, Renee, we actually do that by default. We have an attorney portion of the site that has a specific form for an attorney to fill out, and it's part of the credibility aspect of that. It'll be on your website.
Okay, let me look at that then more clearly. But I just noticed I don't think there's a tab per se, so they would have to actually read it.
No, there's
a menu item.
It's a menu button. It's a menu button.
Oh, there is.
For
Okay,
attorney.
I'll look. They just completed it, so I'll take a look. Okay, got it.
And what we use it for, what we actually use it for, it has two purposes. One of them is it's actually set up as a form to have the attorneys go on your site and fill out their information so that they can become an attorney to whom you refer information to. But if you remember, the purpose of the website is for your credibility. So the point there is that it encourages your customers who are coming to your website to take a look at it, that you're out there working with a bunch of attorneys. And even though you're just getting started with your website, it will certainly appear as though you're doing everything you need to do to make sure you're dealing with all kinds of attorneys. So that's why it's there.
Got it. Okay. Okay, perfect. And just two more questions. I want to make respectful of everyone's time. Would I skip trace any phone numbers that are disconnected, or you guys have really already done that? Like, I'm getting a lot of disconnected phone numbers, and if that's it, that's it. But I don't want to leave any stone unturned.
We go to great lengths to provide the best phone numbers in the industry, and that's something we're always looking at. I'm not going to say that you can't find a number that we didn't, but it's unlikely.
Okay.
There are some pretty expensive tools that are available on a one-to-one basis that can be almost 100% accurate, but you're going to pay hundreds of dollars a month, and you have to do the one-to-one search, so there's also a labor cost there too. Like Spokio and Tellius, the common Skiptrace, we're coming in well above those. There are some like consumer level stuff that's LexisNexis has a tool that's $400 a month just to have access to it, and then you have to do a one-to-one search. There's no bulk tool, so it's quite expensive if you're not going to use it, pretty broadly throughout your business. But other than that, there's really, we've taken our best cut at it, and that's probably better than what you'll do with most all the tools out there.
Okay. So for right now, I know there's not an answer, but just at least for now, just keep moving forward. That's like the simple answer. I just don't want it in my background like I'm leaving anything on the table. Okay. And lastly, can you guys at all speak to, or maybe I should call David Pinnell, I'm a little too ahead of the game for having too many leads, but I can see how this organization thing is going to get messy real quick. So I have a CRM. but I also have Mojo that might be able to be used as a CRM. And Chad, I think you also said you like Sales Dialer. I just want to know if you can shed some light on newbies who are getting, I'm getting about 75 leads a month, to that doesn't get too messy too quickly with the tools that I already have.
So the best tool that you have already is your probate CRM, so My Probate Leads. And
Right.
The way we organize that is we keep each list in the original list. So you'll see like a July 15th, 2019 list, and then you click into that and you have a list view. The way it's built, if you use in the lead level, so you go from the list view to the lead level, like the lead view, and then at the bottom of that you'll see the third tab to the right is called option status.
Right.
And that's where you can rate them and say, here's their status, here's where I opt them in, opt them out. and a really at a quick glance, like let's say you go back into your July list, you already talked to 60% of them who don't need your help. So how do you just get to the 40%? You can do it by using the rating column. You can sort by rating, or you can do it by utilizing short codes. And that was part of the CRM video. I guess you guys haven't seen that video yet. It's coming. Like we're about to release something that will help you better understand this. But for example, you could say, hashtag attorney cookies could be one. And you would know at a glance how many people on that list you visited their attorney with a fresh box of cookies. I'm just trying to pull extreme examples. So that's where you can customize this to match your actual, your campaign sequence. So you could do hashtag call 2, hashtag call 3, call 4, call 5. And then as you're prospecting, you're applying these short codes. So you can say, okay, that's the third time I've called that person, hashtag call 3. So when you go back to your July list and you sort, you say, okay, who do I need to reach out to? And you'll see some of them you've called 3 times, others only 2 times, others only 1 time. And you can use that as a really quick way to customize your tags or short codes, and then you can sort using that. And you can use that in a plethora of ways. I mean, you can do it to, based on prospecting. You can say, here's, phone call 1, 2, 3, email 1, 2, 3. So it just kind of shows you at a glance the last time you touched base with them, what that was. So for example, this will be unique to everybody, but you could have a legend, like you could say, all right, I'm going to do 7 phone calls in the first week, and then I'm going to transition to bi-monthly calls. So you could have a system where it was like hashtag WC for weekly call 1, hashtag WC 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you could transition to hashtag MC, monthly call 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So instead of making a big complex tool with all these options that are going to confuse a user that wants a simpler tool than you do, it's a way for you to customize a simple tool to make it meet your needs without having to go to another big, robust CRM. Now, in David Pinnell's case, his campaign sequence is so aggressive that he outgrew the tool. So he went and spent, last time we spoke, I think he was up to $15,000 in development cost just to get a CRM that would keep up with it. So I would say use ours until you get a closing. And then if you think that you need to go to a custom platform like that, wait until you've, lead with revenue, right? So once you have revenue, then reinvest into the tools like that. But the tool we give you, you can easily, 99% of our users, even the most successful, are just using that as their primary prospecting platform. But I get it. Some of us need more bells and whistles and complexity, and we're busy. So the one thing I would say is go put a check in the bank before you start building custom tools. Like figure out a system to use what you already have for free.
Yeah, well, that and I was thinking of integrating it into Mojo, which I already have. I mean, I'm a little indifferent. I've just had Mojo for so long. I know how to work that system. I'll see if I can upload and put the names to each person next to it. So that's helpful, but and it's an auto dialer. I do find that hand dialing just takes a really long time. I'm not opposed to it, but just again back to efficiency. So I'll leave that to myself. But all right. Anyway, thanks for everybody.
All right.
I'm glad. Monopolize.
I'm glad you didn't get muted out this week. You're first up, so thank you, Renee.
You.
All right, we have 6 more in the queue. We'll probably close the queue in about 8 minutes, so jump in now. Hit *6 and hit 1 if you would like to actively participate. Next up is phone number ending in 2729. You're up next.
Hi, this is Bill Janiga from Michigan. And
Hey, Bill.
Quick question. Hi. In general, can you offer some insight as to how a reverse mortgage falls in play with a probate transaction?
Yeah, so most reverse mortgages, you have a 6-month window when the property is vacated. And that means if they go into long-term care, if they pass away, property is vacant, it needs to be on the market. So a lot of times you have a 6-month clock. The first thing you need to establish is there equity. So, most reverse mortgages are originated at an 80 LTV. So they're theoretically, if the values haven't changed or they've only gone up, there should be equity, at least 20% equity. So there's room for them to get out at close to a retail price. If there's not equity, then you need to look at the short sale option. And I think it's surprising to a lot of people, but most reverse mortgage lenders will actually engage with you on a short sale. The key there is to get the family to engage with you because they know there's no negative repercussions for them. If there's no equity, why deal with it? So sometimes you just have to convince the family, like, listen, wouldn't your mom want you to do the right thing? And if we can do a short sale and serve the lender and your needs, isn't that the best thing? And you can get them to just sign the paperwork. If you find yourself in that position, we have so Jim's wife, Pam, owns a short sale negotiation company, and we can make a short sale as easy or easier than a regular listing for you. So it's not creating a whole bunch more work for you. And she gets herself paid, and you get 100% of your commission. So, but the things to really be aware of are the timeline and is there equity. And just know and oftentimes the family won't understand it. So you can use that to create the urgency they should already have. You can say, listen, I don't know if you're aware of this, but because there is a reverse mortgage, we need to make some decisions relatively quickly because we only have 6 months to be done with this. Not to start. We need to have this home closed. And like if they're in California, what state you're in? Michigan. So
Michigan.
There, you can get the house on the. Do you need court approval to do a real estate closing inside of probate?
Generally, the judge has to sign off on it.
Okay, so and that's a good way to create urgency. So as you may or may not have been told by the attorney, Mr. Smith, once we have the home under contract, we still have to wait for the next family court hearing until this, or the next probate court hearing until this can actually be approved and then move forward to closing. So in that case, it's going to eat up an extra potentially 60 days for the waiting for court and then waiting for the lender's approval. So in that case, we should go ahead and get the home on the market as soon as possible. So our target date for that would be, November 1st. In order to do that, we would need to have the estate sale by October 15th so we can fit photography and everything else in there. And it just starts with today. Just sign right here. And so establish equity and make them aware of the timeline, and then walk it right back to the listing agreement and say press hard. There's 3 copies.
How often do you find that a reverse mortgage will not appear in a title search?
I've never encountered that. Any good lenders are going to record their lien, right? I've never had it happen.
Okay. All right. That was one.
Did you find one of those?
Well, it was a really convoluted deal because it was a foreclosure and was in probate, and the surviving child thought there was reverse mortgage, but we couldn't find one anywhere. So we wound up just going through with it as a foreclosure, and we got down to less than 4 days before it was going to expire.
Was the foreclosure on a first mortgage or a second position?
Nope, first only. And the only thing that was required, the attorney was actually very nice about it, because he had told the son probably a year and a half prior to the end of the redemption was that to put the home on the market, which he never did. And unfortunately, the attorney was under the belief the home was worth like $100,000 more than what it actually was. So we gave him $6,000 more than the redemption amount, and we actually have to go appear before the judge, which the attorney was able to get done within 2 days. So that was good from that standpoint. But it just took
good. So you got a good deal
driving to
right,
Detroit to go appear in court, and the attorney was really good. He just said, "What are you doing the next 2 days?" I said, "Nothing. You just tell me what you need." He goes, "Well, I need you to appear in court with me." Said, okay.
Yeah.
So that's what we did, and it worked out quite well. It was just sad, all the sad part that the son didn't do what he was told to do previously.
Bill, that sounds like a win of the week. Was it a deal that you bought and flipped, or was it a listing?
No, I actually wound up buying it, and the attorney said, "Well, are you concerned about being in court?" I go, "Nope. I'm a retired federal agent, so being in court's no big deal for me."
Yeah.
So I went in with photographs I had taken through the window showing how bad the house was. Wound up flipping it. Unfortunately, it took about 6.5 months to flip. It took 5 20-yard dumpsters and 1 10-yard dumpster just for the tile. That's how much junk was in the house. And that was after 3 weekends of free giveaway. We have a thing locally that's called the community newsletter. And it's basically a website that somebody creates, and you go on there and say, "Hey, I need a babysitter," or "I need a math tutor," and then 20 people respond that they know somebody. And that's what we had done. We offered free give and take. You just have to come and collect it. That's how much junk was there. So it was quite.
So Bill,
yeah,
got 5 more in the queue. I want to move on, but what was your
ballpark?
You. What was your profit on the deal?
Appreciate it.
Bill, he was asking you to break the deal down. What did you pay, and what was your profit on the flip?
I bought it for $246. There's only a couple $100 in closing costs because I didn't have to have title insurance until I sold. Wound up selling it for $345. I was all in at about $316, and I sold it without a buyer's agent. Someone had come along and purchased
almost a $30,000 net.
Yep, and I was good with that. I was okay because it came out of my IRA, so it became tax-free. So I didn't mind doing it. Usually what I do on a weekend, depending upon the city and whether or not they have the sign police out on a weekend, I have a 3-foot by 10-foot banner that says "Open during construction," and it gets a lot of attention. But it's something I can't leave up more than a few hours. But it does work very well.
Yeah, I used to hang one of those on every single house I bought. I would just take bungee cords. I had a big vinyl banner, and say I don't even remember what I've got a few of them in my office, but it's like, community project done by Resolutions Real Estate Services, and a few bullet points. And I bought at least 3 houses just off of those, and it was like $50 to get one printed before a project started, or maybe not even that much. But I did that on every house, and I know of at least 3 that I bought just because of that banner being out front. Because every neighbor is, one of them ended up being a probate. The house we were flipping was a probate, and the guy across the street, before they even filed probate, they came to invite me to buy a house because of my banner. And that one was a $53,000 deal. That's pretty good ROI on the banner.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Bill. You're in first place for winner of the week. Next up is phone number ending in 2676. You're up next.
Hello?
Hello there.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. That's you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'll tell you a little bit about myself. This is my first time on a call. My name is Sage, and so I'm a real estate broker as well and an investor. Most of let's say, I flip almost about 1 house a year. And then my dad is an investor also. He does about 4 to 5 a year between renting and flipping.
Mm-hmm.
So, now I'm just like about to, I said, this place that you guys have is probably the best resource in, getting probate properties under contract and learning the process and talking to people and working with the attorneys. So I noticed that And I also see, like, so far I've only been buying properties between me and my dad. We've only been buying off the courthouse steps and, online auctions and the MLS, usually highest and best on the MLS. So, and a few short sales too. But I'm just really, I'm hearing you guys talk, and I'm like, should I be trying to go after my own seller leads like you guys do as one of your deal sources? Because,
Sure.
Really in the last 3-4 months, I've seen less and less properties. I mean, but I know they're going to start popping up again, even on the MLS. And the courthouse is not impressing me, this week. So it didn't go well, and I didn't come out with any properties. But, I'm kind of like, I want to ask you, as kind of the moderator of this, I want to ask you, like, you're telling me about a property you made in the 50,000s about, but what is the goal? Let's say, I'm a part of alltheleads.com, and, of course I want to close sales, and I want to purchase property, I want to list property. But in terms of, a goal for a flip, I'll tell you my goal has always been kind of modest, I'd say, is that I want to see that I can make around 22% net going into the property. Like, I want to see that as a really realistic goal. And I've successfully done that just off the MLS and foreclosure. But my big question is, what's your number to buy a house to flip? And then the other question is a lot of these, let's say these leads, and you're buying properties off of probate, and this group, in conversation with attorneys, do a lot of them turn into rentals for you too? And you just hold equity? But the first question really is, what is the goal on your flip for percentage of return?
So this is Chad. Personally, my target net margin is 18%, and if you're doing 22, that's great. Like in this environment, if you can maintain a 22% net margin, you're doing a lot of things right. So good for you. As far as like these deals, a lot of these will be really structurally sound. They're going to be in better, pretty much all of them will be in better condition than most foreclosure homes. So you're not going to have a lot of real heavy rehab on these, where in my experience with a lot of auction homes, you do end up having pretty heavy rehab. So a lot of these are cosmetic rehabs. You can do paint carpet windows, upgrade the panel, new roof, replace oil heat with gas heat. You're basically just updating the homes. You don't have to do full-blown, deep renovations. Oftentimes it's mostly interior work. But that said, if you can make really fat margins with these on flips. They also make incredibly good rental properties. Even the families that aren't super motivated to sell at a wholesale price, the homes are typically in better condition. That's why they're not willing to go to 40 or 60 cents on the dollar. But they make incredible rentals because they're typically in good neighborhoods and they're in good sound condition. You can go in and do a paint and carpet rehab and get by with as a rental, and have it rented, within 30 days. And I would say in Roanoke, most of the probate inventory that I dealt with was, build date between 1960 and 1980 is where most of these houses came in. And so I would flip them. 90% of my listings went straight to landlords. And we would actually do it on MLS so we could pump the price up for the seller. But if you want to be the landlord, you can obviously, there's a cost savings there because you wouldn't, you're not going to list the property. You'll just make them an offer and get it. But so they make, you'll find more rental deals than you will flips for sure. They're both equally, they're both really good deals, better than you'll find on most MLSs. With MLS and the auctions, you're being a reactive investor. With a properly executed probate campaign, you can be a proactive investor. You can decide, am I going to rent this? Am I going to flip this? Or am I just going to, put it on, close on it and put it back on MLS, clean it out and put it back on MLS. And we call those wholesales. So we buy a house, empty it out, take good photography, put it on the market, and make 10 grand more than we paid for it. And yeah, your closing costs are heavy, but you still, it's basically 8 grand in found money if you do it that way, right? Some of them, it just makes sense.
Do you do them like that? Sometimes it happens. You put up the money, you sell it, you own it, then you sell it pretty quickly. Do you do them like that too?
And yep, like for example, the last one I did, I bought it for $69,000. I did. I paid $400 to have it cleaned out, and then I resold it with owner financing. I took $70,000 down, and I carried a note for $10,000 at 8% for 12 months. And so I got all my principal back day one. I didn't have any real exposure, and I made enough off of the $10,000 note to cover the additional costs, and it made it doable for the buyer. So you can get really creative with these. You can just, what I'm trying to show you is there's many different strategies that apply in this niche. Basically anything you've heard of anywhere else works really well here. The difference is you have a hell of a lot less competition.
So you'd say there's a lot less competition in probate in general?
Absolutely. And if I don't know how long you've been following our stuff, but our approach, the X factor in probate is your approach. You need to differentiate yourself from the other people. And it's not hard to compete with most people who call themselves real estate investors. Most of them don't have much training. They're not very deliberate in their approach. They're not providing any real value to the community. They're focusing on themselves. And it's easy to kick their ass, as far as prospecting goes. You can shine above the competition just by offering value to the family up front before you ask for anything. And that's a big part of what we teach. You have a broad scope of service. You have a team of maybe 25 different services, and that's 25 reasons for them to reach out to you and 25 different things for them to see value in when you get engagement with them. So that's the big difference. Even you will have, as an investor, you'll certainly have competition from other investors. But if your approach differentiates you, you won't have any real competition.
Yeah, that's true. I read about it. I was already surprised about the coaching. They're saying show that you have estate sale companies with you, contractors, offer all these resources to them, and that it is brilliant. You're right. But I guess every county is different and everybody's criteria is different. But probate sellers, do they? Let's say if it's a little higher price for me is something like $350,000, $450,000. Let's say $400,000 plus. So do they probate sellers tend to sell more of their properties that are priced lower than $400,000, or do you sometimes find properties that are like $400,000, $500,000, $600,000? Does that happen less often?
It's really, inventory is really market dependent, right? And so if you're in a high net worth county, then you're going to have a lot of high priced inventory. And if you're in a low net worth county, then you're going to have lower priced inventory. And there's obviously exceptions, but the majority of, in Roanoke, I think the median income is $38,000. So my median price probate deal was $117,000 as a listing, and most of those were going to landlords as rentals. So they would pay $117,000. They could rent that house for $1,100, $1,200, $1,300 a month, and they would put $10,000, $15,000 in a cosmetic rehab. So, but other people on this, we have some really, really successful people in Manhattan, in Long Island, in Northern California. These are places where their median is $900,000 to $950,000 to $1 million, and they're doing these deals like clockwork. So it's really market dependent. You've got to look at, what you're going to find is, regardless of what your market is or what your price point is, you're going to be typically below median price on these because they will come with a high level of motivation and at least some deferred maintenance. So you're typically selling under median.
Okay. And we'll, I see you're not a client, Sajid. We'll have one of our salespeople, I think it's Jordan you've been working with, reach out and kind of give you the particulars on your market if you like. We can have them call you after the call, if that's okay.
Yeah, I want them to call me, yes.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you. I don't want to rush you. We've got 5 more in the queue. Is there anything else we can help you with today?
Oh, no, that'll be it. That'll be good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I'll have Jordan reach out to you after the call. Thanks a lot.
Okay, bye.
Next up is phone number ending in 6248. You're up next.
Good morning. It's Joyce Arnson Morris calling. I have a probate question. The family that I'm working with, the sister had the power of attorney until the mother's death. She's a remotely situated person, and the brother who lived in the house and took care of the mother for the last 7 years of her life is my client, and he is he's in a quandary because the sister closed all the bank accounts and tightened everything up so that he has no access to anything, and I'm trying to figure out what is the best advice to give him about how he can become the personal representative. The sister hired a lawyer, and they had a court hearing last week, and the attorney and the brother were there, and the brother said that he wanted to be personal representative, that he had taken care of his mother the last 7 years, knew how she wanted things done. And so the judge continued the hearing to next month. So I'm trying to figure out what kind of advice to give him. The sister's very aggressive, and he doesn't know what to do to win this case, so to speak.
Sure. To be clear, Joyce, there is no will, correct?
No will.
Okay. And the sister was the petitioner who petitioned for probate, correct?
She did, uh-huh.
Okay. And he formally objected in court, and then they rescheduled another hearing.
Right.
Okay. And you said you have gotten him to a family law attorney?
No, I have not gotten him to a family law attorney because he doesn't have the money to pay an attorney.
Okay. Have you built an attorney network yet? Do you have a relationship with any family law or probate attorneys?
Uh-huh.
Perfect. So this is going to be it's not going to be pro bono, but there's a 50-50 chance that this attorney will be volunteering their time. What I would recommend is have an attorney accompany him to court so he can publicly object a second time, and then have the attorney back him up and present whatever he feels like is most likely to convince the judge that he's a better person to represent the estate. That would be all you can do. I wouldn't say that you should be involved in it. If this is important to him, he should have legal representation. I don't think he'll have to pay, because if the attorney does his job and he can convince the judge that his client should be the personal representative, then the other attorney just lost the probate case, and he maybe do something. But the incentive for that attorney to go fight for him in court is that he'll get that case, and he's going to make 10, 20 grand. So he should be willing, the right probate attorney will be willing to go to court on his behalf, because if he wins, which there's at least a 50% chance, if he wins, he's getting paid.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Does that help?
Should I go in person and talk to an attorney about this?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. I will do that.
Yeah, and this is a really good way to show your attorney what length you're willing to go to for your clients and for him. Like, listen, I'm bringing you an A+ referral, but you're gonna have to work for it. Like, I've got the right person, but we're gonna have to work to make sure he has the authority so we both get paid, and it'll reinforce your relationship with that attorney.
Excellent. The queue is now closed. We have 4 more people. Next up is phone number ending in 6644. You're up next.
Hi there. Hi, this is Ben Amos. I just had a question on Skiptracing. So I got a list from our county clerk. It's a probate docket list, and when I sent it over to the person that's done my Skiptracing in the past, they were saying that it's going to be a little difficult because this particular docket list only has case number, estate, attorney, and then the either the independent executioner or declaration or I think monument of title. So and that's and just names is all it has. None of it is there's no property information or anything like that.
You're in Texas, right?
Correct.
You said monument of title. So what county are you in?
In McLennan.
McLennan. I know. How many leads are on that list?
Well, they put them out every month, so I sent them about, I think it was 400. I sent them like 3 or 4 months worth of leads.
Okay, so like 100 a month.
Yeah.
And how much time have you spent trying to figure this out?
Well,
I mean, contacting the clerk, getting the list, looking at the list, talking to your Skiptracer. How much time? And be honest with yourself. How many hours have you invested?
An hour. The list is really easy because they have it pre-printed out there at the county, which is really cool. You just go pick it up. It's already sitting out there already, so it's pretty easy to get the list there. So.
Well, if you have the petitioner's first name and last name, you can Skiptrace. I mean, that's your match point. You don't have their address, right?
Correct. There's no address on there.
Okay. So that might be what he's saying. It's difficult because he only has a single match point, which is someone's name, and when it's a common name, it becomes really difficult. What I was getting at, I mean, the reason we're here on this call is because it's usually not feasible for anyone to go do this on their own. We can provide a much higher level, we can provide much better information in software that's free for you for the cost of a subscription, and usually that is less than the value of your time. So if you put 2 or 3 hours into a list, if you're an average investor, your time's worth probably $100 an hour, right? So you spent $200 or $300 just prepping your list before you even begin marketing. And with our system, it's designed to take all that off your plate. So our system's really designed to take everything off your plate but the dollar productive activity of making calls, taking calls, and going on appointments.
Yeah.
So I would encourage you to look at what we can do it for rather than fighting this fight, because it sounds like you're pretty intelligent, you're a pretty savvy guy, and you find out a way to do things. So find out a way to delegate this, and then go find out a way to master it on the phones. And we'll give you the phone number, the address, the attorney's name, and here shortly we're going to give you a lot more than that in the next few weeks. So we can, we pride ourselves on having the best quality data, but the bigger picture is we keep the cost as low as we can, so it makes sense for you to use. You can get better data with less of a time investment.
Yeah.
But
so
if you want to Skiptrace it on your own, Spokio or Intellius are good resources. What you're going to have the problem with is without more than one match point, your match point being first name, last name, but without an additional match point like address, you're going to come up with a lot of John Smiths, and there will be a lot of lost time prospecting when you call 19 incorrect John Smiths to find the one correct one.
Right.
And the only way to really alleviate that in your case is to get better data to begin with.
All right. I think we lost him. We have 3 more in the queue. Should bring us right up to the top of the hour. The next up is phone number ending in 2127. You're up next.
All right. This is Jessie Ramsey out in El Dorado Hills, California. Chad answered most of my questions with Renee, but I'm on your schedule for October 14th. I thought I'd ask today. There's only 8 leads. I think I talked about this before. 8 leads in this county, and I'm on the wait list for Sacramento County. This is Northern California. So, you had mentioned that
going and seeing the attorneys might be the best route. You answered a lot of those questions with Renee, but I was wondering if you had anything to expand on that. Or so there's quite a bit. I know you were in mastery last month, so you've seen me go to the search bar 19 times. But if you put the word attorney, attorneys, lawyers, if you put that in the search bar, you'll find a lot of conversation about this, like as far as how to approach it in a role play manner. So if you haven't looked there, be sure and use that search bar in the top right and put in attorney, all those search terms. But the big thing to focus on is you need to be really clear on what your value to them is. Otherwise, they're not going to see it, right? So get clear. Like with the personal representatives, you have a certain point. Who you are, how you got their information, why you're reaching out, and then the same recipe works just as well, if not better, with attorneys. Most of the attorneys are getting tons and tons and tons of direct mail. They open it over the trash can. They never really give it any real look. Their emails are kind of the same way. But when you walk in face to face, and just like Renee found, even in Los Angeles, where everyone would have expected someone would have stepped up and had some innovative ideas, they haven't. So she was the first one there to ever walk in with that unique value proposition of, hey, we've got a team of people locally that pick up right where yours leaves off. So why do we not know each other? I just thought I should buy you a cup of coffee because we're serving the same people and we're both coming from the same place in our heart. So have you got 5 minutes? And it's amazing the reception you get. They immediately bond with you and they're like, holy smokes, yes, we can use this. A pointer, like a tip there that Renee, if you're still listening, I'm sorry, I forgot to bring it back to this. One of the things that can help you, like what Renee said, is she felt like the gatekeeper, the receptionist, just was having a hard time processing everything she had to offer. A really good thing to help you with that is take one of our trifold brochures, especially the ones with the wheel concept. So you understand I'm the hub, and we consider you one of the spokes in our wheel. We also have real estate brokerage, investment, clean-out crews, social workers, care providers, yada, yada, yada. But that trifold brochure can be a good piece to help them digest it and really understand the full scope of what you can do. So use that methodology and take a trifold with you to leave behind. Sometimes you leave one just for that attorney. Sometimes we have subscribers who take, they're bold enough, they go ahead and take a plexiglass brochure stand that's stacked full, and that gives them a reason to come back every couple of weeks or a month to stop in and say hey and restock the brochures. And believe it or not, attorneys like those on their front desk because no one's ever done that. They don't have a service that beyond the scope of their legal service. They have to tell people, sorry, go find it on your own. And there's very few exceptions to that. Most attorneys don't provide this level of service. So those are my pointers, and there's plenty more if you use that search bar. There's lots and lots of conversation about this.
Perfect. We have 2 more in the queue. We should be done right about on time. Next up is phone number ending in 7665. You're second to last.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Tiana. I have a question in regards to the area that I am doing probate. So I currently changed from a big city to a small, very rural area, and I'm having a hard time finding buyers. And I'm thinking, should I continue? So basically where I live now, it's about an hour and some change from a city where there's, lots of wholesalers, buyers, probate attorneys, so on and so forth. This area, not so much, not too much action. Should I still focus on the rural area, or potentially just focus on the big city to possibly get some leads and motivated sellers?
Are you trying to wholesale or do brokerage, or are you offering both?
Mostly wholesale. I know you mentioned something about, we have a team of social workers, so on and so forth. I actually went to school. I have a master's degree in social work. I am on the track of being licensed for clinical social work, so I can offer services of that nature. So that's how I'm marketing my probate service, if you will. But yeah, to answer your question, wholesale.
So I'm going to give you a couple quick ideas to build a buyer's list in a rural market. First thing you need to do is find out who is closing the most, what title company or real estate attorney is doing the majority of closings in that market. Go become their friend. Take them lunch. Like, don't even ask. Just show up at like 11:30, so no one has gone for lunch yet. Go buy a stack of Little Caesars pizzas or a bunch of those Panera bread. They make a $9 box with a sandwich, chips, and all that already pre-made. So those can go along. Just show up and say, hey guys, I'm looking for some help. I thought we'd discuss it over lunch, and that goes a long ways. But what you're finding out at the title company is who are the landlords in town that I should know. Like, who are the people that are closing multiple transactions per year. And that's just a really quick way that you can provide some value to them and create a relationship. But find out who the guy is. That's kind of the beauty of small towns. It's easier to network, right? So title companies are a good place. Other ideas are, just if it's a small town, if there's probably not more than one or two real estate attorneys, you could just go direct to them and say, listen, I've got a good steady flow of deals, but I unfortunately haven't met the right people in the market. I was hoping you could help, and we'll make sure that these deals come through your firm for closings. So they have an incentive to share that with you because they're going to get the closing business, and you're creating a relationship. You're adding a good real estate attorney to your team, but you're also getting something in return. He'll introduce you to the most serious buyers. The other thing you can do is even in the most rural market, they have foreclosure auctions. It's just sometimes they're only once a month. You should be at the next trustee sale, and you should make it a point to get to know everybody there because they have enough. There's no more qualified residential buyer than at that auction. They've got 10% down cashier's check in their pocket, and they have 10 to 30 days to come up with the remaining balance. So they're ready to buy today. And even if they don't want to buy what you have, you can identify what they do want to buy, and you can find, and then they're on your buyer's list.
Perfect. Our last person up this week is a recent subscriber who just completed mastery. So I'm sure you have a great way to end the call, Thurman. You're up last.
Yes, good afternoon. Just wanted to say thank you very much for being on these calls and answering any and all questions.
Sure.
I was interviewing a bookkeeper for a client of mine, and we got to talking about what I was doing, and she wanted to become a probate lead for me. So that was kind of interesting. But my question is, I've gotten roughly 130 leads a month over the last 3 months, and I was having difficulty making these calls, so I wanted to have your ISA team do it for me. Recently I got emails back on all 3 campaigns saying they weren't able to set up any appointments for me. So my question is, what do I do with these 187 names now? How do I follow up with them? Because they were put on a 5-touch campaign. So I know the July list has 2 more letters going to them, etc. But is there any other way I can milk and get something out of these 387 names?
So you delegated the calling because you didn't have time?
Yeah.
Or because okay. And has that changed? Like, you still just don't have the time to make the calls?
Well, again, I subscribe to your ISA program, so you guys are making the calls for me.
Right. So what I'm getting at is, so we're not calling the ones that are flagged as do not call, and that's what's lowering your contact rate. And we had to make a hard decision as a company to have that position. We want to serve you, but we also have to protect our own assets. And the DNC validation is something we push through to you guys because we've already paid for it and built the tools. But so if you look through that list, you'll see anywhere there's a red asterisk, we weren't able to call those numbers. So what I was going to suggest, if you have the bandwidth, the next thing you should do is go through and make a decision whether you're comfortable with that liability, and if you are, go through and call the DNCs so you can get, pick up the ones that we missed. Oftentimes, some of the best numbers can be there, unfortunately. So that's why if you don't have the time, that's not really an option for you. But if you do, we've cut your call volume by 60% already. So hopefully you can find the time to call the 40% of numbers that we weren't able to get to.
Okay.
Otherwise, just subsequent campaigns. I mean, these are, and you're doing the right thing. Like you have a multiple touch campaign. That's great. The more you can do, the better. We teach a minimum of 3, but there's really no maximum. I mean, you should continue marketing, calling, sending letters until you've spoken to everybody.
Gotcha. Okay. Very good. Thank you much.
All right. Thanks so much, Thurman. Well, guys, we've got an empty queue. We're at the top of the hour. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Jim actually lost service and had to drop off, so I'll have to do the famous Sullivan close. Take one thing you learned here today, one thing that motivated you, go put it into action, and come back here next week to share your success. Thanks so much, and make it a great day.